Hello and welcome to this revision of an earlier video covering the migration of DPA version 5 to DPA version 6. Please refer to the full documentation available at the link shown, with particular reference to the Data Protection Advisor migration document. When referring to the documentation supplied, please take particular note of the new features and changes, the fixed problems, the environment and system requirements, and known problems and limitations sections. Also, during your planning and preparation for migration, please pay particular attention to the hardware requirement for the target, and that this complies with the compatibility guide and the sizing estimator requirements subject to the amount of data that you intend to migrate. Please ensure that all networking requirements are satisfied, with particular attention being paid to the ports required for the installation and operation of the DPA v6 server. If you are in any doubt whatsoever about your migration, please consult your local EMC representative for advice or indeed validation of your migration proposals. Let's then have a look at the 8 steps to success. DPA supports migration from version 5.8 onwards. If your system is prior to version 5.8, the system must be upgraded to version 5.8 prior to migration. Source and provision the new hardware for DPA version 6 in accordance with the supporting documentation. Acquire the DPA migration tool from the EMC support website. The Migrator tool may be installed in a number of locations. However, it is strongly recommended that the Migrator be installed on a separate dedicated virtual machine with minimal resources, but has visibility of both the source and the target servers. We shall see the Migrator tool run in the demo. However, prior to running the tool, some pre-planning is required to determine exactly how much of the original data will need to be migrated. This will depend upon your own internal policies and requirements. At the time of compilation of this video, certain specific components of DPA version 5.8 cannot be migrated, and these are shown on screen, but please refer to the latest documentation for the complete list. On completion of migration, you may wish to verify the migration and verify the operation of the new version 6 server. Extensive logging is provided during the migration process, and following the migration, visually check the DPA version 6 inventory for inclusion of all the expected objects. Depending upon the size of the version 5.8 environment, the migration may take some time to complete. This may be several hours, it may be several days, but during this time, the 5.8 system will continue to collect data from the collectors. On completion of the initial migration and your verification of the operation, the Migrator tool should be rerun to migrate the newly collected data and re-verified. Once the migration is finally complete, DPA version 5.8 collectors should be redirected to the newly installed server, and where possible, DPA version 6 agents should be installed to replace the version 5.8 collectors. So we've acquired the installer from the EMC support website, placed it on our desktop, and we'll now run this. We'll open a Windows Explorer and navigate to the program files EMC dpam/bin folder. Here we'll find the Migrator executable, and we'll place a shortcut onto the desktop. Let's double-click the shortcut to initiate the Migrator. This will initially open a command window, which you should not close. So we'll minimize this and concentrate on the UI. Please review the contents of the splash screen, as this contains much valuable and current information. A menu of operations is presented to us which will guide us through our migration. Our first requirement is to configure the connection setting of the source and target servers, specifying the resolvable hostname and the DPA credentials of the source version 5.8 server, and then the hostname and the DPA credentials of the target version 6 server. We next must specify what configuration data is to be migrated by checking the configuration data radio button. By default, all configuration data is checked, but you may choose to suppress specific items to your requirements. Note the logging message indicating the location of the migration log. This is located in the DPAM folder we saw earlier. Also note that the migration will not commence until you click the Start button at the bottom right of the pane. So let's click this. The Migrator initially performs an analysis of the 5.8 system and will report on any items found which will not be migrated. You should review this carefully. This configuration migration actually took about 10 minutes, so we'll speed it up a little. When complete, we'll click Next and then Finish. Now, returning to our menu, we may now migrate our 5.8 data mine data by checking on the appropriate radio button, and then click Next. Not all migrations will require all of the 5.8 data mine data to be migrated, and we have presented a customizable migration configuration panel here, which will allow you to select by time window how much or how little you wish to migrate. Each selection is pre-populated with reasonable values, which will be appropriate in most cases. When you are satisfied in your selections, click Next. The connection is tested, and then click Next, and then click Start to initiate. An analysis of the 5.8 data mine is performed. This should only take a few minutes, but we'll compress the time again. When complete, a time estimate will be shown for the data mine migration. Please note, this is only an estimate, and depending upon many factors, may vary significantly once the migration is underway. Click Next. Click the Start button to commence the data mine migration. If at any time you wish to stop or suspend the migration, you may do so by clicking Stop. This is particularly useful if, for large migrations, over several days, you wish only to perform the migration during periods of reduced workload or network traffic. On returning to the menu, you will note that DPA knows that a migration has been suspended, and you may recommence from this point by clicking Start. Again, we shall compress the 1 hour plus migration into just a few seconds. When the migration reports as complete, click Next and then click Finish. You may now verify the migration by opening the UI of the new DPA server and checking your inventory, users, licenses, etc. When you are satisfied with the new environment, you may rerun the migrator for a final time, selecting the radio button highlighted, and when complete, you may redirect your collectors or new agents to point to your new DPA server. In this video, we have taken a brief overview of the migration process from DPA version 5 to DPA version 6. Thank you for watching.